Good morning this morning and welcome to the program TVC Breakfast it is, and we are glad you can join us once again this Tuesday morning. I am Kemi Foladiemo and I am with Ibrahim Shita. It's good to see you again.
Good morning, Kemi. How are you? I'm good.
Yeah.
How are you too?
And you looks like you got some rest and
really?
yeah, it shows.
I know.
All right, so we're here for another ride, and it's good once again that you can join us for this 2-hour-long program this morning. There's a lot before us, and we're beginning with the looming strike declared by the Nigeria Labour Congress, the NLC, as well as the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria. Well, these two main labor unions have commenced a planned nationwide strike today. The strike is to protest against the battering of the NLC president, Joe Ajero, as well as other leaders in Owerri, the Imo State capital, last week, as well as pending labor issues in the state. And they had, on November the 7th, resolved to declare a nationwide strike by today, November the 14th, if their demands weren't met. Recall that the NLC president, Joe Ajero, was attacked in Imo State while protesting alongside other labor leaders and other members of the association. But the federal government has expressed displeasure over Labour's decision to embark on this strike. This despite a restraining order issued by Justice Benedict Bakwash Kanib of the National Industrial Court. And Ibrahim, we've been through this road, countless times. The issue of Labour deciding to embark on strike, which is well within their legitimate rights as activists fighting the cause of workers, welfare, and the likes, and then the federal government, the government of the day, stepping in to intervene, using the court as a mechanism to, prevail on Labour to suspend their strike. And in this particular instance, Labour is insisting that it is not just fighting for the attack on the president of the NLC, but also pending labor issues, unresolved labor issues regarding the state government in Imo State. And but the federal government has spoken out, has expressed displeasure over this move by Labour to continue or to insist on embarking on a strike. A circular has been sent out to all the secretariats across the state saying it's going to be a total strike. But the federal government is saying this is basically purely personal matter involving what it calls the unfortunate foray of Mr. Ajero now to go to instigate mayhem and the like in Imo State, and that's subjecting millions of Nigerians to, unwanted hardship, unwarranted hardship over a personal matter is uncalled for.
Absolutely, and I'll pick it from what you said. The thing is, if you are fighting the cause, you're fighting the cause of the people, you definitely have to do it right, and the people also have to be on the same page with you. But it does appear that the current the leadership of the labor union that we have now, it's I'm not really sure what they are really up to, because if you say you're fighting the cause of Nigeria, you're fighting for Nigerians, fighting for the labor, but then you are doing things that at the end of the day would affect them negatively. For instance, Nigeria is reeling from the impact of misgovernance over the years, and we are trying to ensure that the country gets back on its feet, gets back on its track. This administration is just starting out. We can't say just starting out, really, but then it's still less than a year the administration took the reins of power. So if you're fighting your own personal cause, why are you going on strike? Is it for the benefit of the entire nation or the benefit of the entire member of the union? Or is it because you were being allegedly assaulted? Because election was just around the corner, there was no protest weeks, months before the election, but it is during the election week that you felt, you remember something, the governor is not doing things, he has not met some demands from the state union, for the state workers. But then the local, the state union said, the state chapter said that they don't have any issue with the governor. Why are you saying that you want to stage a protest? You want to protest and all of that. So it's like they need to get their acts together. We need to be sure what they are fighting for. Is it the cause of the people or their own just, quote unquote, their own just cause? And you said you were being battered, you were beaten and all of that. The next thing to do is to fly abroad for treatment. And this is the same thing you accuse government of doing, Nigerian government of doing. Remember in previous days, during the Buhari administration, they said that no government official should go abroad for any treatment.
Foreign medical treatment.
And we saw you that day, the day you said you were beaten. We saw that you were able to carry your hand. We saw that you had a bulge, one of the eyes, one of your eyes
we could see
was attacked.
Yeah, we could.
But you were able to carry your hand. But the following day, we saw that you had bandage all over your hand and all of that. But the next thing is to go abroad and get treated. So I feel Labour should. They need to extricate themselves. I know it may not be easy, but to extricate themselves from partisan politics. Because you can't say you are fighting the cause of the people, you're fighting the government of the day, and then you're still loyal to a political party that had a stake in the just concluded election, both elections that we had, the presidential election and the off-cycle election. So you can't be. So it's not really clear what they really want. So it's best they come out clean to Nigeria. This is what we want. And I said something. You declared the governor persona non grata. And I said, if this governor wins, only God knows how they are going to, have this relationship. But do not even get mushy. Get dirty in their own fight, because tomorrow you might just see them, taking pictures together, and they say we've resolved all the issues.
Right, and the school of thought said, okay, fine, you headed to Imo State, which was also going to be among the states, conducting off-cycle elections. You headed there to embark on this protest, days to the elections, the gubernatorial election. But then when you look at it, the governor has already denied. First, there was no engagement between Labour and us. And of course, there's the issue of the standing of the state NLC, the state labor unions, and the state government. There appears to be no problems. They basically, maintain silence on, the stance of the national body of the TUC and the NLC. And we saw how the governor even, thanked them for their support in his congratulatory message after winning the election. So, all of those are holes that, opponents of Labour's move now are using, to drive their point that, okay, you simply went on a foray, what you embarked on was needless. But more worrisome for me is the fact that the courts have intervened. And it's a lesson for everyone.
Yes.
It's instructive for everyone. All persons need to really take heed at, the dimension or the implications of these things. The courts are there for a reason. And yes, your strike, whatever, may be legitimate, but when a court is involved, and every one of us will need the court at some point. We saw it even for the former CBN governor, the former CBN governor, that is Godwin Emefiele. We saw how it was, at the point where the court, up to the Supreme Court, had already spoken about a controversial policy, and there was no
disregarding
obedience.
the rules. Or
and then it eventually somehow you need the courts, for protection. That should be a lesson that everyone should ride on. And the government is also speaking to that point. So we've gone to court on this issue, and the courts have, intervened, saying that the strike is illegal. So while Labour will go on this, and it's really not just about Labour, because eventually it may fall on the federal government, where all eyes will be looking on them, or government, or persons in authority, where people will be expecting them to obey, a court order. And this seeming lawlessness has worrisome implications that we really need to take heed on. And of course, channels of communication should also not be destroyed. While you have a stance and I have a different stance, I want to believe that no matter what, Labour will always be there. I think so. There is need for those channels of communication to always be intact. You must exhaust them before you now choose to embark on a drastic move as this, especially now that the economy is still hurting. Still needs a lot of interventions. There are things put in place, but there is still much more time that needs to ensure that these interventions enhance the system somewhat. I
feel the Labour Union needs to tread carefully, because you remember when they called for strike in Labour, in Imo, they called for protest. They didn't even answer them. Everyone went about their businesses. So I feel that Nigerians will just not take them, serious, except those who feel, oh, because they were looking for certain mandate and they couldn't get the mandate, even though the court could not restore the mandate that they, phantomly lost. So it's very important for the labor union to tread carefully and make sure that whatever they are doing, whatever outing they are bringing out, should be for the reason, for the benefit of the entire Nigerians. Everyone is, reeling from the impact of this economy. It's trying to pick up, but we should just take things carefully so that we won't see them as being partisan when it comes to issues that bother on the general well-being of the entire nation. So it's very important for everyone to be on the same page. You don't have to be on the same page with the government 100%, but there should always be time for you to sit down, communicate, have this conversation. Imo State Governor said that he's from his state and he had never for once come to him to have this conversation, to talk to him about, oh, this is what you've not done, this is what we're expecting you to have done. He never for once had this conversation with him. So I'm not really sure. Let's just see what happens. It's just a few hours from now, and let's see whether people will obey or disobey. People will obey or just, wish away their own intents.
Right, and on the other hand, we both have spoken about it. The attack itself was really unfortunate. The attack on Joe Ajero and his comrades was really unfortunate, and the police has said it's investigated. We call on the on the police, to also do the needful, expedite investigation on this matter and announce, the recommendations and the resolutions made from that, because all this is a cycle, really, and it doesn't portend good for the larger part of Nigeria.